G'day guys, another video, not about detectors, even though I'm working on one on the bench. This is about soldering, or as people would say, soldering iron tips. Now, there are so many derivatives of the Hakko irons out there. Like, I don't know if I can get around far enough to see it. There we go, somewhere in there. That iron there, and let's get rid of my engineer's four eyes. That these things, that thing there, that basically, oops, I haven't got the end on that at the moment. It was part of the experiment, but those generic irons that it takes the soldering tips that look like that. Pretty generic. All the Chinese make them. You know, Hakko in Japan was the first to make that type of iron, and it's been knocked off about 1 million times or more. But one thing that I've noticed, when I was buying soldering iron tips, I was buying them on eBay, I was buying them on AliExpress, I was buying them all over the place. And you'd think that you couldn't stuff up a soldering iron tip, or should I put it more correctly, you wouldn't bother faking it, would you? A soldering iron tip. Well, that's quite interesting because they do. I had these tips, and what happened is that they you could use them, but when you went to do the next soldering joint, it would go like putty, and it just wouldn't retain heat. You couldn't solder a IC with a lot of legs on it, like so. It would just bog down and turn to putty. So you say, what's going on here? What's wrong? Is it the solder I'm using? Is the iron not hot enough? Well, I just calibrated my iron and everything, and I'm really surprised that all these. I've got a stack of tips here. I had to go back into the old tip collection to get. We'll say that predates Chinese soldering irons, basically, and I've got some genuine Hakko tips from the 1980s here, which are a bit blued, and they work. And you can always tell a tip that's made by Hakko, unless they're getting really badly counterfeited. On the bottom there's always a chamfer, just a couple of degrees. You can't probably see it in the video. And if you look very carefully on the side, not when it's blued like this, it's probably got cranked up for some reason. It'll have Hakko, it'll have M-900 serial numbers and all sorts there, and the tip type like a 14D or whatever it is. So always look out for that. And the tips themselves, just the actual soldering bit here, about that much of it, it's smooth. It's very smooth. So that will probably be a genuine tip. But there's some good knockoffs, I tell you that. This one here, no, I think that's a Hakko. That's a Hakko tip. It's got the chamfer and I can see writing. But some of these tips, what about this one? Oh, this one here, it has the chamfer on the end of it, if you can see it, or an attempt of doing it. See, it looks different. There's no writing. It looks genuine, It's not, I'll tell you that right now. So I've got all these tips here, all different sorts, and yeah, that's a Hakko. That's a Hakko tip, proper one. A tip that I really, if, I'm not going to really use that on doing circuit boards, but it is a Hakko tip. And there's a lot of nice pointy tips you get like this. No markings, nothing whatsoever. And what I've noticed on these Chinese tips, if you have a look in the end, the Hakko one's at the top, and it's really thick, it's meaty, and this knockoff one is very thin. It's got not much meat on it, and there is a little bit of difference in diameter from about 6.6 odd down to 6.37 or something for these ones. But they're getting better and better, and they're making them look very, very close. Here's some that I got in a while ago. They look really good. They're nice looking tips. And you look at the bottom, they're a bit thicker, but not really. But what I was finding with some of these tips is that they don't get up to temperature. And I'm thinking to myself, why is that so? Why don't they get up to temperature? They're all marketed as, copper core tips, iron or zinc plated. So, yeah, I got a few of these things. These came today. These are from, I ordered these yesterday and they came today. These are from a place in Dandenong in Victoria. They're on eBay. And the reason I bought these in big letters, copper core, right? Zinc plated. Okay, really. How do you tell what one's what? I'll show you. First of all, get your iron without any bizzo on it, whatever. Don't worry about using the ferrule and the little holder for it. Get a genuine Hakko, or you've got to have one genuine Hakko to do this test because you need a standard. So what I do, I've got the meter here. The new one I got. I've calibrated that. I've calibrated my iron. I've given everything the calibration. I'll just put the backlight on there so maybe you can see that, but I'll call it out as it goes. Okay, I got the temperature probe on the end of the iron. I'll turn the iron on. I've modified this iron too, so it heats up pretty quickly, and it sounds like a frog. People tell me, but it's loud. I'm whacking the triacs at a greater rate, and just works faster on the feedback loop anyway. No big deal. So with that on there so far, we're up. This is in Celsius. We're up to 150 degrees. This is from a cold start. We're up to 200. You can see the rate of climb is pretty good. I haven't got this clamped down. It's just sitting there loose. So at the 270. It's getting there. You can see, hopefully that, yeah, it's on nice and tight. That'll do. Eventually, it should get up round about, what have I got to set at? Probably about 350 degrees odd. I'm doing it from start, so it'll take a little bit of time to, stabilize thermally. So up to 340, 340, 341, 342. There we go. 349, 350. I just got to pull it on the wire a little bit to give a good grab thermally. So there you go, 350 on that. That's a genuine Hakko one. So what I'll do, I'll take that off, and I'll get one of these. I'll get a brand new knockoff, exactly the same type. One of these unferruled things, or chamfered, should I say, not ferruled, even though they probably are ferrule. So, okay, we'll heat this one up and see where we go. I'm cooking my sponge, starting to sizzle and make steam. There it goes, steam everywhere. Okay. So this one here, up to 160. The element is really hot, so I can stick it on. It should go up pretty fast. 200. What I notice, it starts really slowing down when it crawls up in temperature. And what it is, the thermal inertia is not quick enough in the metal, and the element is heating up enough, going back to the sensor circuit and cranking it down. So if we have a look at this, it's putted out at 300, around about 306 or 7 degrees. Can you see on the meter there? I can see it. Well, it's a little bit 316, 315. It's having a hard time to climb because the heat's not going through this metal, not getting to the tip. Oh, come on, 320. I'm pulling like hard on this, so I don't want to break the ceramic element though. But yeah, it's a good 30 degrees shy of where it's meant to get. How can that be? That's really strange. Now, if you look at it, it's back down at about 314 or 315. If you try and solder with this, what will happen is that it'll melt the first bit of solder, takes all the heat out of it, and it's just not enough thermal mass or inertia for it to say, oh, it's gone cold here, we better heat it up, because the whole ceramic element is staying at the right temperature, and the feedback system's saying, oh, we're hot enough, but here it's not. So it's 306, 308 degrees. Very strange, isn't it? You can do this with all your tips, and you'll see what are proper tips and what are not. So there you go. It's stabilised 305 degrees. We've lost 45 degrees Celsius. So what happens when you're using these bodgy, you know where, from tips, that your element has to heat up probably 50 degrees more than what it should be, trying to keep this tip at your soldering temperature. Thus, it burns your tips out. It burns the element out. It's always overheating. So it's not good. If you have a look at that at the moment, there we are. I'll put the backlight on. There we go. You can see it. It just doesn't work. I couldn't work out why. I calibrated everything and I'm trying to do soldering and it's like pushing putty around the circuit board. Well, actually, I'll put that back there. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it. So that's very interesting. Exact same type of tip, useless. And I'll tell you why. Make some more steam. I got one of these Chinese, well, they come from China. I got one of these Chinese tips. Okay, there goes more steam everywhere. Fizzle, fizzle. And I thought, well, if it's copper, I'll just bend the tip off, right? Oh, God, I had to absolutely work like hell. I had to cut this with a diamond tool and eventually snap through. Have a look at that. That's not copper. What's that? It's not aluminium or aluminum, depends how you want to say it. It's some very tough, silvery looking metal. What is that? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I should get the XRF out and zap it and we'll see what metal that is. But it's not copper. It does not transfer heat efficiently, and it doesn't retain heat in its mass. And the other way of telling, I'll zoom in for this one, and I'll do it on similar size bits. I'll just drag the tripod over here, probably be a disaster doing this, but we'll give it a go. I've got some, I don't know if I can actually do, no, I can't expand the view on the front camera, damn. But anyway, I can't tilt this because it won't read properly. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I'll call out the numbers anyway. So just say, for instance, I'm trying to get some tips that are exactly the same, but I'm going to give it an advantage. Okay, here we go. I'll give you an advantage here. Okay, that's a little skinny Hakko tip. So you can see the end of it's skinny. I'm going to compare it with one of these other ones with a, try that, with a fatter conical end on it. It's like it ends up in a little flat there, but it's a lot more mass. Let's measure. We'll measure the Hakko one. Even though it's a lot less metal, we'll see what it comes up at. Okay, 5.85 grams. Okay, 5.85. We'll put this one on. A lot more metal. 3.44. That's interesting, isn't it? So even though the metal structure's bigger, it weighs less. I know the Hakkos use copper inside them. So what metal are they using that is that much lighter than copper? I'll tell you what, it makes a bloody crap soldering iron tip. It doesn't work. So it looks the part, it looks identically, the right shape, size and everything else, and it just don't work. Another thing with genuine Hakko tips, no matter what, you get them up to temperature, they will not stay bright silver. They will go a bluish tinge. They all do that, always have. And it gets very glossy. So it gets a very glossy, bluish tinge to it. The other ones, they either go black for some reason, or they just stay silver. So I'm trying to have a look when it's, well, see, I wouldn't use them because they don't work, which is amazing, isn't it? Anyway, there's a Hakko one. This one's got a tinge. It's got a golden colour. It's got a golden sheen to it. But that's still perfectly okay. And I'm trying to find a fakie. Yeah, that's a fakie. It's sort of completely different tone. It's more dark. They don't get that glossy, nice looking tinge. So the other big thing about these tips too, I'll show you, and this is one of the biggest giveaways for it. I can probably do it on this one here. Can I? Okay. You get your thumbnail get your thumbnail, right, or whatever, and take your drag your thumbnail up and down the tip like that, and you can feel tiny miniature ridges. And if you look on if you look very closely, or use a magnifying glass, or even take a picture on your phone, you can see the ridges. It's not that pronounced on this one. It's a bit better of a job, right? But hey, I'll get one of the these ones here. I'll get a new one so you can see it very clearly. So this is what you watch out for. I don't know if I held it near the microphone, you might be able to hear it. Actually, what can I do? How about a back end of a blade or something? Here we go. Come here, you. Have a listen to this. Hang on, I'll turn it around here so you can see I'm doing it near the microphone. Okay. You can hear that noise because it's got, like, it looks like lathe marks um, in this, whatever this metal is. I think it's one piece. It's been drilled up the backside, and it's been chiseled down or ground down or cut down. I don't know how this stuff cuts, but whatever, into a point. And it's got lathe marks in it. So any of these that you see with these little tiny ridges around the tip part, uh, they don't work. They just don't transfer heat. They're absolute rubbish. And they will. They'll cook your soldering iron because you just got to try and overcome it. I mean, these things here. Remember, like some of the Hakko ones are up around 6 grams. This, yeah, 4.15. You know, some of the other fakey ones. That's a fakey. What? 3.2. What a drop off. 3.2. What's it made out of? Aluminium? Aluminum? I mean, these two these two fakes look exactly the same, but they're both made of different metal. And I can tell you right now, copper is heavy. It is not made of copper. It's just not. You know, I feel like getting all these things and just throwing them in the bin because you can't use them. Uh, and I'm really, really disappointed with these ones that came in today, being purported as genuine copper core, blah blah blah, and they've sold heaps of these, but they say they're for Hakko soldering stations too. I'll get one out, and it's thin. It's not real. It's not genuine. It's nowhere near it. They're going to get a serve. I'm not going to out them on here, but they're going to get a serve. Yeah, 4.2 grams. So I call it cheese metal. I don't know what metal it is, but it's might as well be made of cheese. You know what I mean? It's full of air, or, well, it's not molecularly dense. It's just really bad. See, this stuff gets out there. Everyone accepts it to be the real deal, and it's not. Look at that one, 3.7 grams for that little one. Even the Hakko would be 5. So, you know, what is there? 30 to 40% metal missing. It's amazing. I don't even know what this metal is. I don't even know if it's electrically conductive or what it is. I should actually find out. I'll put the other meter on. I'll stick it on beep range, which it is, and I'll find some leads hanging here somewhere. Here's some leads. So I'll just try the other meter and just see what this, if it actually is very conductive or whatever. I hope so. Should be. It is. But what is this stuff? What is it? Lighter than copper, silver. It's not an alloy. It's, I really don't know. Goes silver when I cut it with a diamond tip because it's silver. But where I broke it, it's all powdery looking, if you can see that. Whoops, it's probably a bit out of focus, but in the middle there, it's all just a powdery metallic. What's cheap? What's really cheap metal that you could um, stick in a lathe and drill and tell everyone it's a soldering iron? And also, I'd say it could be, maybe it's nickel plated. I don't know. Uh, would they nickel plate it? Usually should be zinc plated, or some of the I know the weller tips used to be iron plated. They used to plate them with iron, and they used to last forever. But I don't know what that is. So be aware of these too good to be true tips, which very hard to break. Well, guarantee you, I get a copper one, and I'd just be able to bend it back and forth until it eventually did snap. But that thing there, very tough. So yeah, to that crowd in Dandenong selling these things, Dandenong, Victoria. I like the way you posted it in one day, but don't don't advertise to say it's something. The only reason I bought them because it said copper core, zinc plated. They're not. It's not zinc. It's something like, it's definitely some sort of nickel. It's so smooth and shiny. Couldn't even, you'd pass it off as chrome plated just about, but it's not. So yeah, be wary because it will. It'll cook your soldering irons. So yeah, so that little thing there come in handy after the other meter died, and yeah, the little thermal probe. If you ever want to calibrate your meter, if you want to pull it apart, stick a little K-type thermocouple into your meter if it's got the facility for it. What you do is you get that and you just dunk it in boiling water and you adjust it to be whatever it is. What is it? 212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius. So yeah, adjust it. Then everything's accurate from then on. So you can't make water 101 or 213 or whatever it is. Um, if it's boiling, it is what it is. So not plus or minus. It just is what it is. You turn up the heat, it's just going to make more steam. It's not going to go up in temperature. So yeah, well, that's my thing about soldering iron tips. I'm going to have to go through a lot of them here and cull them because, occasionally you might just say, "Oh, I want a really pointy tip," and you'll grab one of these fake things and you'll sit there, and because it's a pointy tip, it doesn't hold much temperature anyway. And if it's never getting there, it's sitting there, it's probably sit down probably under 300 Celsius. It's going to be pushing it uphill trying to melt the solder. So yeah, just be wary of that. All these fake tips. So on the Hakko ones, they are laser engraved on the side, but that could be easy forged as well. The way you're going to tell, weigh them because they can't fake that. You know, if you're going to put copper in it, you're going to put copper in. It's going to be a particular amount of grams. You put any lighter type base metal in there, it's going to weigh less. And I don't think they're going to make it out of silver or gold. So, yeah. Oh, dear me. So you're really looking for around about between 5 and 6 grams on these tips uh, to tell you that it's a genuine one. This is these are all M900s, I think they're called. And because they're different shapes, and it will vary a little bit. But if you just look at those figures, you want 6 grams for a bulky one, and 5 grams for a thin one, thin on the tip, and that should put you in the ballpark figure. So you're not, basically, outsmarting yourself buying cheap tips like me. Well, I didn't know they were cheap tips. It said they were genuine, this, that, and the other, and I'll tell you what. I think next time I'll buy tips, I'll buy them from the Hakko distributor. They're all around the world anyway. Get the genuine ones instead of paying maybe $1 or $2 for a tip. I think the Hakko genuines retail, and this is retail, probably about $10. And I tell you what, it's probably the best $10 you'll ever spend if you're doing this for a living, because otherwise, you will pull your hair out. You'll go, what is going on here? So yeah, now I can get up to temperature, and I was in the last week or so uh, mistakenly using the wrong tips, and absolutely, what is going on? And there, what do you think I was doing? Cranking up the temperature to compensate. And all I'm doing is, wrecking the elements. So they will burn out a lot quicker if you've got the temperature up higher than probably about three um, 350, 650 Fahrenheit. That's where you want to be. I think usually I set my iron at about 330. About 330 Celsius, 600 odd Fahrenheit, and I can go forever. I'm just doing little legs and little things, and it doesn't vaporize the resin, gives you a really good clean joint. But if I was using those other tips, I'd be well under 300, well under 600. So it's probably why you get peaking on your solder joints, and it's all horrible looking. It gets all spiky. So I hope that is of some use to some of you guys, especially guys who like tinkering and fixing stuff or making stuff, whatever. Watch out for the tips. There's a lot of fakes out there. Anyway, catches.